At 30,000 feet, Flight 972 sailed smoothly above the clouds, cutting through the sky like a silver arrow. Most passengers were relaxed, unaware that their peaceful journey was about to turn into the most terrifying moment of their lives. Some people slept with their headphones on, others watched movies, and a few chatted softly. Nothing seemed unusual until it suddenly was. Inside the cockpit, the captain had been feeling uneasy since takeoff. A slight dizziness, a bit of pressure in his chest. He ignored it, telling himself it was just fatigue. But at this altitude, small problems become big dangers. At exactly 2:17 p.m., the captain's breathing changed. Within seconds, he collapsed forward onto the control panel. The co-pilot froze for a full second, shocked. "Captain, Captain! Can you hear me?" he shouted while shaking him. No answer. The aircraft tilted slightly. Warning lights blinked on the panel. The co-pilot pressed the intercom. "Flight attendants to the cockpit, now!" A flight attendant rushed in, her face pale the moment she saw the captain unconscious. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Check his pulse." "I need help," the co-pilot ordered. The attendant leaned over the captain, hands trembling, trying to feel a pulse. "It's faint. Very faint." The co-pilot attempted to activate autopilot, but the system displayed a malfunction warning. The aircraft shuddered. They were alone, no captain, no autopilot, and no time. The attendant ran back into the cabin, trying to stay calm, but her fear showed. Passengers looked up, confused by the shaking and the tension on her face. "What happened?" an old man asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered urgently to another attendant and rushed back toward the cockpit. Panic slowly began to rise among the passengers. Then the plane jolted violently. A mother screamed. A child cried. A businessman dropped his drink. People held onto their seats as the lights flickered for a second. "Is everything okay?" someone shouted. No reply. The air pressure changed suddenly, and the oxygen masks dropped halfway before springing back up. That brief moment was enough to ignite fear throughout the cabin. Passengers began praying, crying, and gripping the armrests so tightly their knuckles turned white. The atmosphere changed from calm to chaos in seconds. Meanwhile, the co-pilot was doing everything he could to stabilize the plane. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His voice trembled as he radioed air traffic control, but the signal was weak due to a storm forming ahead. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Flight 972. Captain is unconscious. I repeat, Captain is unconscious, autopilot. Malfunction, requesting immediate assistance." Static, more static, then faint words. "Repeat, your altitude." The connection died again. The co-pilot's heart pounded in his chest. He could not keep the plane steady alone for long. Back in the cabin, all eyes were on the flight attendant, who had run toward the cockpit. She came out again, breathing hard. People waited for her to speak, but she didn't. She just looked terrified. Then something unexpected happened. A quiet man in seat 14A stood up slowly. He had been silent the entire flight, almost invisible, reading a small black book with no title. His appearance was simple: dark jacket, calm eyes, short hair. Nothing about him suggested importance. But the moment the flight attendant saw him standing, she froze. It was as if she recognized a ghost. "You!" she whispered, stepping closer. "Your call sign. It's Falcon 9, isn't it?" Passengers around him turned sharply. Whispering started. "Falcon 9. The quiet man didn't move for a second. Then he nodded once. A wave of shock passed through the flight attendant. "You flew for the Special Operations Air Division, didn't you?" The man looked uncomfortable. He didn't want attention. He never introduced himself, but now hiding wasn't an option anymore. "Yes," he finally said, voice low. "But I retired years ago. I'm just a passenger today." "No," she replied firmly. "You're our only chance." In the cockpit, the co-pilot yelled again, "I need help now." Passengers stepped aside as the quiet man, Falcon 9, walked down the aisle. He moved with calm confidence, like someone who had trained his whole life for emergencies like this. People pulled their legs in, staring at him as if he were some kind of legend. A teenage boy whispered, "Is he a real pilot?" An older woman replied softly, "More than just a pilot. I've heard stories." Falcon 9 stopped at the cockpit door. The co-pilot looked up, eyes wide in relief. "You've got to be kidding." "Falcon 9?" he asked. But Falcon 9 didn't waste time. He stepped inside and assessed the situation in seconds. The captain lay slumped over the controls. The plane was descending slightly. Warning alarms blinked red. The co-pilot was trying his best, but he was exhausted and panicking. Falcon 9 took a deep breath. "Okay," he said quietly. "Move aside a little. I'm taking the left seat." The co-pilot nodded and slid over. Falcon 9 sat down, placed his hands on the controls, and everything about him changed. His posture straightened, his focus sharpened, and his calm filled the room. For years, he had stayed away from the sky, trying to live a quiet life. But the sky had called him back in the most unexpected way. He tested the control response. "Hydraulics are weak. Stabilization is dropping," he said. Outside, dark clouds gathered, thunder rumbling like a warning. In the cabin, passengers felt the plane tilt again. "What's happening?" someone cried. "Please tell us we're not crashing." No one knows. But the flight attendant finally stood in the middle of the aisle and shouted, "Everyone, listen! A former elite Air Force pilot has stepped into the cockpit. His call sign is Falcon 9. Please remain calm." People gasped. Some faces lit with hope, others with confusion. At least the panic slowed a little. Back in the cockpit, Falcon 9 spoke into the radio, even though the connection was unstable. "This is Falcon 9 taking temporary command of Flight 972, requesting immediate priority landing assistance." The controller's voice crackled through the static. Falcon 9. We haven't heard that call sign in years." Falcon 9 ignored the surprise. "We have an unconscious captain and a malfunctioning autopilot. I need a clear path and technical support." Static again. The co-pilot looked at him. "Can you really do this?" Falcon 9 didn't answer with words. He simply focused on the horizon, straightened the aircraft, and reduced the sinking speed. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the crisis began, there was hope. Falcon 9's hands tightened around the aircraft controls as the storm. Clouds thickened outside. Lightning flashed through the sky like white knives, slicing the darkness. The plane trembled again, this time harder. Passengers gasped as overhead bins rattled, and a baby began crying loudly. Inside the cockpit, the co-pilot said, "We're entering severe turbulence. I can't hold altitude." Falcon 9 kept his eyes locked on the horizon. "You don't need to hold it," he replied calmly. "We correct it slowly. Breathe." He made slight, deliberate adjustments. The plane steadied a little, but not enough. Warning alarms beeped again. "Stall alert. Low engine power. Autopilot unavailable. Hydraulic pressure critical." The cockpit felt like a war zone. The co-pilot swallowed hard. "If the left engine keeps failing, we won't be able to maintain thrust." Falcon 9 checked the engine panel. Then the weather radar. A huge red storm cell was directly in their path. "We have two options," he said. "Climb above the storm." He paused. Or fly through it. The co-pilot stared at him. "Climb? With a dying engine? That's suicide!" "So he's flying through a thunderstorm with weakened hydraulics," Falcon 9 replied. For a moment, silence filled the cockpit. Then Falcon 9 made the decision. "We climb, slowly, controlled. Give me everything from the right engine." The co-pilot adjusted the thrust. The aircraft groaned under the change, rising inch by inch. The storm hit them from all sides. Winds shook the wings violently. Rain slammed against the windows, and lightning danced too close for comfort. In the cabin, passengers screamed as the plane bounced like a toy in the sky. "Is he losing control?" someone yelled. A woman prayed loudly. A teenager held onto his seat, tears in his eyes. The flight attendants struggled to keep balance, but kept repeating, "Stay calm. The plane is in safe hands." But the truth was, the danger was real. And nearly... The captain's condition worsens. One flight attendant ran back to the cockpit. "The captain isn't responding. His pulse is dropping." Falcon 9 didn't turn his head. "Keep him flat. Put cold compressors on his neck. And keep talking to him. He might hear you." She nodded and rushed out. The co-pilot whispered, "If he doesn't make it, you'll have to officially command the landing." Falcon 9 didn't answer. His jaw clenched slightly. He didn't want command. He didn't want recognition. He only wanted every soul on this plane to live. And nearly breaking through the storm. For 20 agonizing minutes, they battled turbulence. The right engine roared under the extra load. Falcon Nine's arms ached from holding the controls steady. Sweat dripped down his face, but his eyes never lost focus. Finally, the aircraft pierced through the top of the storm. The world above was calm, sunlight hitting the clouds like golden paint. A collective breath echoed inside the cabin. People cried with relief. Over above the storm, the passengers stood and applauded him like a hero. Some cried, some tried to shake his hand, but he didn't want attention. He simply nodded and said, "Thank you. But I just did what anyone should do." As he walked down the runway, air traffic officers saluted him. He saluted back, a quiet, humble gesture. Then he disappeared into the crowd, just as quietly as he had appeared. His legend, however, only grew bigger. Flight 972 would be remembered forever as the day a quiet passenger with a forgotten call sign returned to the sky and saved 186 lives.